Happy January 1st and happy first episode of Scammed. Today we are reading Reddit stories. Anyway, how are you guys doing? Welcome to the first episode. My name's Erin. Anyway, today we're going to be reading Reddit stories from the Charlotte Dobre YouTube channel, one of my favorite creators. I don't really have a theme for this. It's just kind of stories I found that I thought the title looked interesting. So I haven't read these, so these are also my first reactions. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. But I would love it if you guys would comment down below your thoughts on these stories. And also don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm going to be putting out a lot of videos pretty soon. So Happy New Year, and let's just jump right into it. Cheers. My ex-best friend found my spouse's death tacky and inconvenient. I just want to make it clear off the bat that I've fought with whether or not I should even share this story. You should. It is water under the bridge and I have moved on, but kept ruminating over whether sharing this story could help someone else in this situation to finally have strength to deal with it the way it should be dealt with. Would karma come at me for sharing it? Would it come at me for not sharing it? I battled with this for a long time, but the more I thought about the moments in the story as I debated on the will I not, the more old anger began to simmer again. Finally, I realized that if I could help one person avoid a toxic friendship and save themselves to learn to stand up for themselves, then it was worth it. So let's get cracking. Okay, first of all, this is a long story, and I absolutely love you for that, so thank you to Kooky Fortune 1015. Alright, I, 34 female, have known my former friend, let's call her Tess, 39 female, since we were both in our 20s. We instantly clicked. She became a person I could and did talk to about anything and everything going on in my life and just generally be myself around. Okay, that sounds like me and my best friend Katie and Hope. Anyway, let's continue. We were openly goofy, weird as neither of us really cared what others thought, and hung out pretty much on the daily. Now, let me point out that I know for a fact there are a few relationships of any kind that go up in smoke with only one person being the awful one. I can look back on my growth as a person and see that I was clingy, loud, and dependent, which could drive any sane person crazy. Oh my god, are we the same person? Is this me? And as you'll see from this post, I was so monumentally naive. So I acknowledge my issues in this friendship and can easily see where my issues could lead someone to being sick of me back then. But how the last few years of knowing Tess went down and why she went to these extremes ruined me. Yeah, I've got nothing. Yeah, you know what, girlie, I feel you. To be honest. Okay. My husband, Richard, 35 male, and I had friends that we hung out with regularly. Late night hangouts on our free weekends, lots of laughs, and much camaraderie. I can't hear that without thinking of the Sabrina Carpenter song, If You Know, You Know. We met these friends independently of Tess, and when she moved temporarily and went silent as a result, she, needless to say, had no idea what I was doing with my life, who my current friends were, etc. You would figure that someone I label as my best friend going silent after moving would have been a huge red flag. But again, remember the naive thing. But sometimes after the estrangement, she returned to town and we began hanging out again, Tess even being invited to hang with our new friends, whom I'll call Miranda and Jacob. We became a close group of friends and one I was so happy to be a part of. We gamed and traveled and were in each other's weddings. We were close and I loved every minute of it. But then the changes came. Okay. These changes during this time were subtle at first. Backhanded compliments from Tess as well as passive-aggressive comments, all in front of my friends at these hangout nights. Criticizing my choices and everything from food to music to how I game. The jokes I made to the movies I watched, she would start canceling on evenings with me only to be hanging out with Miranda and Jacob instead. I don't like that. Gossip suddenly began spilling out of her regularly about Miranda and Jacob as well, where she would be begging me not to tell anyone. This only led me to wonder what she was sharing with people about me and begging people not to tell anyone. This was normal for a few months, and then it suddenly went to outright insults. Anytime I had anything happy in my life to share with the group, Tess was automatically passive-aggressive to negative. Well, I personally wouldn't take that job, but okay then, whatever. That is so weird. Why would you want to do that? And around other people? if it floats your boat, I guess. I wouldn't be caught dead going there. You see the pattern? Good, because I was so blind that I didn't see it until much later. Again, you want to see the best in your friends. Like, you want to believe the best in people. So that's not really, like, sometimes, and I think sometimes people don't know how to be happy for other people. Like, I want kids so bad. Like, being a mom is my dream. Being a wife and a mom is my dream. One of my best friends is married now and just told me she's pregnant. My other best friend is pregnant. Like, I'm very happy for them. Yeah, do I want to be a mom one day? Absolutely. But I'm so happy that they're in that stage of life. Like, I'm happy for my friends when something good happens to them. And that's how you should be as friends. I'm happy for people that I'm not friends with. You could call me. I don't even care if you don't know me. You could call me and be like, oh my gosh, I just got an A on a test. I'm going to be so happy for you because I want you to do good in life. I want to see other people succeed. And I think you should want your friends to be happy. And there are people out there who maybe grew up where that was not the norm. And maybe they grew up with families or parents that are kind of negative, or maybe like, oh, you got a B on your test? Okay, well, you could have got an A. Or like, I think some people don't know how to be happy for other people. And, maybe that is something that they need to work on. But, yeah, I would be upset too. But I also would have just, like, straight up been like, hey, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. And maybe, like, why are you not happy? Why can't you be happy for me? Anyway, let's continue. Slowly but surely, over months and months, the invites for my husband and I to hang out from all three of them stopped coming. Their conversations happened in chats without me, and just like that one day, they were all gone. The three of them seemingly despising me. Ooh, I don't like that. Anyway, my husband and I were hurt, very hurt, but we had no choice but to move on. We had kids to raise and a life to lead, and we weren't about to let something derail us when the kids needed our focus more than figuring out exactly how the friend group fractured. So for several years, we went on with life, never knowing what really happened. It took the death of my husband to clear up this multi-year mystery. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, first of all, yes, I know your husband passed, but I just want to say I'm very sorry for your loss. That's very sad. And I hate that it took your husband passing away for you to kind of like see the red flags in your relationship, which unfortunately, death is kind of one of those situations where it brings out the truth. Like, people always say, oh, like, have a baby and you'll find out who your friends are. But I also think, like, a death can also kind of show you who your real friends are. So my husband was my true best friend, my mirror, supporter, and biggest fan in every way. And one car crash later, thanks to a drunk driver, it was all over. I was a widow with kids to raise. Octavia, 13 female, Victoria, 10 female, and Alec, 3 male. I wouldn't wish that pain on my worst enemy ever. Losing the love of your life was a unique pain that can't be explained or quantified. It's just a hole in your heart. It's just a hole in your being that can't be filled. You just learn to walk and talk and breathe without your heart. That is very true. That is, yes. Losing someone that you love like that without warning or being able to say goodbye is one of the hardest pains that you'll ever have to deal with. I have a family member in the hospital right now on life support, and not knowing if he's going to wake up or not is devastating. It's hard. So I feel for her. I feel for her kids. It's a pain that nobody should ever have to feel, but you feel it. I sat in that hospital chapel after they broke the news, staring at my phone and his. The realization passed through my brain that I would have to go through both his contacts and mine, dropping news to friends. Dropping news no friend or family deserved to ever hear. If I'm honest, I'm surprised that I was even functioning well enough to come to that realization, but it did take about 2 hours of me sitting there and staring into space after all the screaming and tears and being picked up off the floor from my breakdown to even be able to form a coherent sentence, so maybe. So I began the arduous process of letting everyone know that my husband was gone. As I was typing out repeated messages on both my phone and his, a sudden thought came to me. Should I tell Tess, Miranda, and Jacob? I sat on that thought even though I had messaged everyone else. Even after we left the hospital, even after I was sitting on my couch in silence while the kids and I hugged, cried, or both, finally I decided At some point, I realized that they had cared about him at some point. They deserved to know, even if nothing came of it. So I typed out one simple 3-word sentence: Richard is dead. Wow. Could I have broken the news more diplomatically? Yes. Was I in a mental position to do so? No. That was the best they could get out of me after telling people regularly for the past 6 hours. Tess responded with a shocked, "What?" But that was all. Nothing else. Crickets. I fielded several calls from family or friends after that, but people are still rushing into town as best they could, traveling by car or ferry or plane. Nanaimo? I don't know if I said that right. It's fairly isolated, and I like it that way. So it took time for people to get to me. So for most of the day, I sat there with the kids trying to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. But then the first guest arrived to check on me, and my heart hit my throat. It was Miranda and Jacob. They were the first to be there for me, dropping what they were doing to rush to the family home. They gave me just what I needed. They hugged me and sat with me while I cried. They showed up. They were the first to show up, all the past forgotten. To this day, that matters to me more than they will ever know. But still, as expected, Tess was remarkably silent. Over the next few weeks, Tess did, in her defense, start to come out of hiding. She had never lost someone like this, so she did her best to try and help with the comforting, distracting me with jokes, and doing things with me and the kids. It definitely felt good to have all 3 of them back. But with Tess, I realized now how awkward it was too. It was strained, uncomfortable. I chalked it up at the time to the zombie-like state I was in, having to bury my own husband. But now with hindsight, I realized it had nothing to do with his loss. It was me and Tess. Things kept up in this odd dynamic until weeks after the funeral. But it was the events at the funeral that, in those following weeks, led me to realize the type of person Tess was. The type of person she had always been, and I had never even realized. Getting juicy. From the moment we walked into the service, everything was called into question by Tess as a matter of tact and taste. The memorial service by the water was inappropriate, despite the fact that it was the ferry across to the island where I worked when we met that he first said he loved me. The song used for his memorial video being Allentown by Billy Joel was a weird choice for a life celebration, despite it being the request in his will years before because it was his dad's favorite song and he missed him. The food, my choice in a white dress I had planned to wear when we renewed our vows since he'd never get to see me in it, the idea of spreading his ashes at the grave of Jim Morrison, who was his favorite singer. The list of her nitpicks went on and on. Truth be told, I was still too zombie-like from my grief to be bothered by it at the time. None of it really registered as annoying to me until weeks later. Ironically, it was around that time that I realized just how badly the service had went for some people, all thanks to Tess. Tess kind of sounds like a... Miranda and Jacob had not been able to be there because of Miranda's job. Now, I want to make this very clear. Miranda has a very sensitive life and death job, the details of which I will not discuss here out of respect for my friend. But it was because of the importance of this job that she could not be there. Any rude comments about her not being there will not be tolerated by me and will be reported immediately. So don't even think about disrespecting their absence. But as a result of this, Tess had been texting Miranda during the entirety of the ceremony for what I thought was the purpose of keeping she and Jacob updated. But oh no. The text consisted of constant criticism and lamenting for everything I listed, her venting about earlier and more. How did I find out? Miranda and Jacob. They were not comfortable with the way she was tearing me and the funeral apart. Every text was making them more and more uncomfortable. So after a few weeks to give time for everything to die down, they asked if they could sit down and talk with me about Tess. The full details of what conversations will come later in the post, but the short version for now is them telling me about what I'm about to tell you all. And yes, they came with receipts. I love receipts. Love receipts. Firstly, Tess went on and on about all the things I said earlier were her points of contention. But then she decided to escalate it, telling Miranda how much she didn't want to be there at the service, about how uncomfortable it was for her, how hard it was for her. Oh dear, I'm so terribly sorry. My having to bury the love of my life was so difficult for you, Tess. She went on to detail about how having honorary pallbearers, relatives that had passed, was morbid and disgusting and outright tacky. But it didn't stop there. At one point during the ceremony, my oldest child, Octavia, had collapsed beside my husband's coffin, screaming and crying for her father. It is a memory forever etched into my brain and not one easy to recover from. My child still remembers the moment as well. For her, it was when she finally realized that this was real, that her dad wasn't coming home. We knelt beside her and let her scream and beg her father to wake up until her energy was spent, at which point I helped her to a chair near the water, hoping the cool water breeze would help her. I hate Tess. I hate Tess because I already feel like that this is going to piss me off. Tess texted Miranda during this telling her how ridiculous and how pathetically my child was overreacting. I want to punch Tess in the face. For legal purposes, that's a joke. I need a minute. You know what? I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to calm down because if I keep reading right now, I'm probably going to say some things I shouldn't say, and my mom's watching this. I guarantee it. Okay, I've calmed down a little bit now. And even if Miranda hadn't came with receipts for this conversation, I would have known this particular text to be true, as I hadn't told Miranda about this moment. She had no clue it happened and couldn't have made that up, even if she were that kind of person, which she isn't and has never been. That was more than enough to be the final straw. I can tolerate jabs at me, but you do not involve my children. Facts. And you sure as hell do not criticize how my kids react to losing their father. That makes you a lower piece of shit than I ever thought possible. But as we talked about that day about the text Tess had sent, the more Miranda and I both learned about Tess than we either one knew. The story she was feeding each of us for years before we stopped speaking, and while we weren't speaking, the rift that had occurred between us, a very detailed and long con style of manipulation by Tess, playing us off each other, sowing seeds of distrust, so she could push me out of the picture to have her own private friend circle. Each of us separate, but still all tied to only her. As we did a deep dive into past texts and talks that we had with her, we discovered the plethora of lies that Tess had fed both sides, all with the intent of shoving a wedge between us. Our entire time apart was all the result of Tess' direct actions, and she tried to continue them after my husband had died to keep that rift as wide open as she could, ensuring she had separate friends that she could control in her own happy little way. 2 decades of this person feeling I was so bizarre and weird that she would be my best friend to my face while quietly working to isolate me from everyone that mattered to me. Needless to say, it didn't take much for the 3 of us to realize who the real problem was. Man, the apologies that we gave each other repeatedly until we could barely breathe, we had been manipulated into hate and gossip, and we felt embarrassed, angry, and used. It took little for us to decide to kick Tess to the curb and to never speak to her again. And the ironic thing, everyone else around her did. All her friends, her sibling, her parents, over the next few months, they all stopped speaking to her, and they all cited the same reason as to why. Her constant lies, manipulation, and outright hate. We didn't even have to lift a finger. The universe took care of it for us. The point here is simple. I want people to realize that both people in a friendship or relationship can and will have issues because every story has 3 sides. Yours, theirs, and the full story is somewhere in between. I guarantee Tess has true stories about me that drive her nuts because I am aware I can have been a pain in the butt. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're being treated this way, don't bother trying to fix it. Don't try to find out why or what the point to all of it is. Don't try to figure out what you might have done wrong to cause anything. Just run. Run fast, save your sanity, and surround yourself with loyal and good people who care about you. You're worth more than this. Everyone is. And remember, if someone around you says that everyone else around them is the problem, that means that person is the problem. Yeah, I agree. That's the end of the story. First of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. This was posted 23 hours ago. I guess maybe this happened a couple of years ago. But either way, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. Even, years later, losing someone you love is never easy. I'm so sorry that your kids lost their father. That is devastating. I hate Tess. I hate her. I hope she never finds happiness in life. Is that mean? I don't even care. Yeah, karma really does take care of people. Um, and you can't rush it. Like, first of all, Tess is a piece of actual human. Sorry if you are my family watching this. If you're my little siblings, please don't watch this. No, actually, if you want to watch it, watch it. Hey, Weston, love you. Um, no, I don't think. Yeah, you're not. I don't even know. This wasn't like an am I the a hole. This one wasn't for advice. This was just to get it off your chest. Which, like, first of all, this is so sad. Tess sounds like a miserable person. This is just sad. Like, truly sad. But I'm very, very happy that you were able to mend the relationship with Miranda and Jacob. I'm thankful that you guys were able to kind of come together and see how truly, like, sick and depraved Tess was, and that you were able to kind of forgive and move forward without her. Hi, Scout. That's my baby Scout. Scout. Anyway, so that's gonna be all for this video. It's gonna be a lot longer than I planned, so this is just gonna be one video. So I will see you guys in another video in a few minutes. For me, for you, it's gonna be tomorrow. For me, it's gonna be in like 2 minutes after I finish this. Yeah. So I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna sound like Chelsea Suarez, CC Suarez, the queen. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, week, whenever you're watching this. I hope you have a great New Year's. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye!